Yo, what's good everyone? Welcome back to another video. And today I'm going to be talking about interview questions. So when you're applying for a setting position, obviously you're going to be set on an interview before they bring you on. Sometimes you won't, sometimes you will, but it's always good to prepare, and preparation is key. So today I'm going to be going over some common questions and things to look out for when it comes to your setting interview, all right? So if you're excited for this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you're new to the channel already. And as I said, and I keep stressing, one-on-one mentorship spots are now open, so DM me on Instagram below, and let's get straight into it. So I know you guys have been asking for this a lot, but I think now is the time to talk about this because I was on I was on a coaching call with a client the other day, and we were going over and we were helping him prepare for his interview with a company for a potential setting role, and it was a really good role too. So that's one of the benefits you get for being in the coaching program. So just a couple questions here. I want to get you prepared and get your mind turning. So some common questions that I've had before. I only like to speak from experience, but that might change in the future, and I start speaking from my students and my clients' experience. These are typically the questions that you're going to be asked, and this is what I've been asked for one of my setting roles that I was on for a couple months. And the first one being, obviously, why do you want the role? What makes you stand out from the others? What's your long-term vision/goal? What's your income goal? How much do you want to make? If you can make the team calls at X date, X time, can you commit X amount of hours to this? Where/how did you hear about this position, and what's your experience? Okay, so those are some common questions that you're gonna get. This is the first part. So I want you guys to prepare some sort of answers for this, and just put yourself in the best case scenario. So for example, and just a disclaimer as well, this second to last question, where and how did you hear about the position? That's not really a question, that's more so for market feedback from what I've heard. But it also helps to just be honest and tell them where you came from, okay? But things like, why do you want the role? What makes you stand out from the others? If you can prepare these in advance prior to your interview, or just have them in the notes app, just so anytime that you're about to hop on an interview or you have a couple interviews lined up for the week, you're ready and you know exactly what to say, and you can say it with full confidence, okay? Instead of trying to come up with something on the spot, something airy-fairy, that's not gonna really work. So you wanna be best prepared and just come up with some answers on these questions, right? But you also wanna be flexible, you wanna be adaptable. So what you don't also want happening is you being super rigid and being super robotic and only sticking to those exact answers. So sometimes things might happen, the interview might go a couple different ways, so you also want to be adaptable and kind of also be able to think on your toes. This is just like a job interview, guys, but it's just for a much better opportunity, okay? With things like, what's your long-term vision/goal? What's your income goal? Just be honest with what it is, and if you can align, and this is a bonus, if you can align your long-term vision/goal with theirs, if you can find a way to align both of them together, then that's going to be golden, because not only are you being honest about your goals and your ambitions, they're also seeing how you fit into their long-term vision and their long-term goal, and how it's actually going to help them. Because a lot of people, as people, we're selfish. We always want to meet our needs first, so sometimes we don't take into account the company's needs, and vice versa, okay? So if you can find a way to align those two things, then the chances of you getting hired and accepted for the setter role is going to be much higher. Instead of you trying to just be all selfish, for example, I'm just here to make money, right? At least you're honest, but at the same time, they're gonna think, okay, this guy just wants to make money. I don't know how he fits in compared to this other guy who wants to learn and help us out. Okay, so if you can find a way to align, it's gonna be golden. With what's your income goal? How much do you want to make? Just be honest with what it is. Things like this question. And by the way, if you're wondering why am I sharing a screenshot today, is because Miro is down bad. It's down bad, but it's down today. I don't know what's going on. It's a glitch. I don't know if it's maintenance, so you're just gonna have to bear with the screenshot. Things like, can you commit to X? So you're gonna have more logistical questions here. So if you can make the team, for example, if you can make the team calls at X dates, X time, X times per week, can you commit X amount of hours to this? So these are more logistical questions, and again, you just have to be honest with it, or you have to make certain sacrifices. So when I say being honest, if the team calls, for example, like with the position I was last on, there were team calls Monday 5 times a week, and they were at a certain time, but it was in the US time zone. So for me, being in Philippines, the time for these team calls and these setter training meetings were crazy. Like, it actually messed up my sleep schedule pretty badly, and I'm trying to get out of that now. So it was at like 1:30, 2 a.m. these team meetings. So every day I'd have to, or 5 times a week, I'd have to stay up until 1:30, 2 a.m. just to join these meetings, okay? And they are important too, so I couldn't just miss them, okay? So if you're in a situation like that, unless you're willing to, which I don't recommend, sacrificing your sleep, but if you're willing to do that, if you have to, then go ahead and make sacrifices, which is like what I said earlier, make sacrifices. But just be honest, just be upfront. If the team calls, for example, or whatever requirements, logistics do not work in your favor, then maybe you're just better off finding another position, okay? So also things like, can you commit X amount of hours to this? Let's say you're like going to school, let's say you've got a 9 to 5, let's say you've got 2 jobs. Just be honest, can you actually commit to the hours? Because if you can't commit to the hours, or if you say you can, but you end up getting on and you actually can't, then that's not a good look either. So just be completely honest with that. It's just logistics at the end of the day. It's just logistics at the end of the day. And yeah, be upfront about it. And then the classic example, or not the classic example, but the classic question about what's your experience. So this is one that people dread a lot, especially like newcomers and beginner setters. Honestly, if you want to know my answer to this question or how to answer this best, again, I think full honesty, well, honesty works, and I think it's going to be the best policy, as with almost everything, right? If not everything. Just be upfront with your experience. For experience, with your lack of experience, try to make up for it with character traits. So things like, yeah, you know what character traits are, I don't need to explain it, but with your lack of experience, you gotta make sure that the business owner that you're speaking to or the interviewee can see the potential in you at least. So make sure you're punctual to the call. Little character traits can be displayed by your actions. So things like being punctual or early to the call, the way you speak, the way you present yourself on the call, things like that. Your body language, Manila traffic, your body language, etc. People can pick up on these things. So while you may lack the experience, sometimes people are willing to make compromises and actually see potential in you. And most businesses are willing to train you up, because if they don't train you up, then it's actually they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot. If they want to make more money, they're going to make sure that their setters are competent or their closers are competent. Okay, so they're going to provide training anyway, and that's how you get experience. All right. So if you're lacking more in the experience department, try and display better character traits. Also, if you're experienced, display those same character traits. Do not slack off. Do not take your foot off the gas pedal or get complacent. You're always going to come across as sharp, enthusiastic, coachable, and most importantly, you're coming in there to help the business out and make more money, and in other departments, not to F it up, all right? So what are you currently doing right now? And then you can also, like, I've got a video about this, how to land a setter position without experience, so you can go check it out up here. But essentially what I talk about in that is something called authority hacking, which you can watch the video for that. And then this next paragraph is, what are you currently doing right now? So these are questions that you can ask. So just like in a job interview, it's always a good look if you have questions of your own. So things like, and these are some ideas. So things like, what are you currently doing right now for work? Okay, I don't know what this is actually. I don't know why I put this. What are your plans in the future? Okay, ignore this. Okay. This second paragraph is just me putting notes down. But I guess you could also extrapolate these as some questions that might be asked. So yeah, for example, how much time do you have to commit to a role like this, Monday to Friday? This was the notes I put down for one of my students when he was doing the interview, or the interview basically. So yeah, you can look at that as well. You can pause the video. And then this is what I meant. So this last paragraph are like 2 questions that you could ask to the interviewee or the business owner who's trying to see if they're a good fit. Because as I said, it's a good look when you have questions of your own. So for example, I blurred out the name because I want to keep the privacy, but X person mentioned, like, this is an example. X person mentioned a previous setter made a mistake which led you guys to part ways. If you're comfortable sharing, could you say what happened, just so I can avoid making the same one as well? So basically what I'm trying to say here is, what mistakes have past setters made in the past? What mistakes have past setters made so I can avoid them? And then they will tell you, and that's gonna add more, more bonus points, more brownie points to to you. Another one, it's a similar version. What character traits did the successful setters do that made them succeed, so I can replicate it as well for me? So you're basically asking, like, what did the crappy setters do in the past, and what mistakes did they make so I can avoid them? And then what did the good setters do? If they've had setters in the past or setters on their team currently, all right? So that's only gonna make sense in that scenario. If you can think of any more questions, and guys, feel free to comment questions that you can ask or anything else that will help, or any questions that you've gotten in the past in the comments, just to help everyone out. So the more the better. Let's help each other out. Comment them down below. But these are just some 2 questions, and I could have added more, but again, Miro was down, so whatever. What other ones you could ask? It's like, if they haven't mentioned certain questions, or they haven't asked certain questions about certain topics, and you need to know it, like for example, let's say they don't talk about how many hours they need to commit, then you can go ahead and ask that, okay, I got a question, so how many hours do you expect me to, or do you expect setters to commit to this position, right? And then they'll tell you. But because you asked the question, it's always a good look. Okay, so that's pretty much it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed. Again, comment down some questions that you've gotten in the past, or questions you could ask for when you're on the interview, just to help each other out. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of the video. Nice and quick. If you enjoyed this video, again, like, comment, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Take notes, and good luck on your interviews. Peace. See you in the next one.